Humans are the most intelligent, resourceful, and seemingly immortal species to have ever walked on this earth. We are often thought to be entirely different than any other species due to our superior levels of intelligence and domination over the species surrounding us. But we share more than 96% of our DNA with a species that is unable to speak a language, understand or incorporate architecture into their lives, and whose main goal is to reproduce until the day they die. The primate group Pan, including chimpanzees and bonobos, is their closest living relative. We can trace our similarities all the way back to 25 million years ago to our single common ancestor, believed to be the hominini. The hominini split into a line of two separate species, Pan and hominoids. Differentiation between the species is most likely caused by their biogeography. For example, the two groups could have been separated by a natural obstacle such as a valley, a mountain, or a river. The separation would result in two different gene pools. The mutations in one group would be different than those in the other, and eventually the genetic differences would have made it impossible for the two groups to interbreed as one species. They would become separate. As we said before, there is DNA evidence that we are once a species with common-day chimps. There is only a 1.2% difference in our genome versus that of a chimpanzee. Humans only differ from each other by about 0.1% in their genome. Other DNA evidence that proves our common ancestor is the human chromosome 2. Normally, humans have 23 chromosomes, but chimpanzees have 24. In humans, an extra chromosome will result in serious issues such as Down syndrome. But chimps are meant to have this many, which begs the question, how did we end up with one less chromosome than the apes? Well, the human chromosome 2 is similar to two of the chromosomes in chimps. This could either be explained by the chimp's two chromosomes combining to form the human one, or the human's one chromosome breaking apart to form two. The difference in chromosomes came about most probably when they started to evolve more independently of one another in drastic ways about 5 million years ago. The fossils of Homo sapiens and chimpanzees are another drastic piece of evidence. Though we have evolved to have slightly different physical structures, many are very similar. Using fossils, we can see the earliest primates and how much they evolved. Looking at the primate hand family tree, the chimpanzee and the human hand are physically alike. Our skulls are another example. Humans and apes contain the same structure of their skulls as the ancient hominid did. The ischial tuberosity, acet cerebellum, and ilium are still located in the same place of the skull. The chimp's ilium is slightly longer than ours because of mutations that have taken place over many decades. You can see the same features slowly evolving to what they are today over the millions of years of our ancestral species that have come and gone. Humans are born with their anterior frontal open, whereas great apes are born with it fused. The tang child skull shows that the Australopithecus, ancestor of humans, also had their anterior frontal open. This adaptation made for quick brain growth in the first 2 years of human life. Homo sapiens are the only other primates that dominantly use bipedalism. This adaptation allowed them to evolve differently because they have their hands free so they can gather food more easily and they can use objects around them more readily by picking them up to defend themselves, build, etc. With the inclusion of architecture and weaponry into the lives of Homo sapiens, they became dominant over virtually all other species. The chimp and gorilla can walk on its hind legs for a short period of time, but they are mainly knuckle walkers. Because of this, their feet evolved to be very different. The human foot is more adapted to walking on the ground, while most primates have much stronger and longer toes that can grab onto branches. The chimp's skeletal frame is adapted to climbing trees and knuckle walking, with long arms, whereas humans' arms are shorter. The primates that are not human also have a longer pelvis. Primates such as chimps, bonobos, gorillas, orangutans, and humans tend to sit together in groups. They and we do this because of many reasons, predominantly because of safety in numbers. These primates' social skills greatly help them to survive. This is very similar with humans who are extremely social animals. Another reason that they stick together is to hunt for food or look for plant vegetation. They can cover a bigger territory if there are more of them. They can also defend a bigger area with more of them. This behavior allows some of the individuals in the species to survive and some not to. Eventually they adapted and nearly all travel in groups and live together, as it is quite hard for them to survive completely alone. Both chimps and humans have a pregnancy that lasts about 9 months. It is nearly impossible to distinguish the embryology between us and chimps in the early stages. In these photos of human and chimp fetuses in the womb, they look identical. The differentiation isn't visible to us until the fetuses are fully developed and ready to be born. In the early embryo stages, they both have gill slits and tails. Both of us lose the gill slits, but most of the primates keep the tail. Humans do not have a tail, but do have a tailbone, the proof that we once did have tails. In the future of humans, we believe that the different races will be less distinctive because of interbreeding. The species as a whole will also become weaker because natural selection is not being allowed to take place due to advances such as glasses and medicine. Other primates seem to be surviving fine and are not endangered as a whole, so they will most probably stay relatively the same, adapting slightly as they go along. In conclusion, there are mountains of evidence that proves that we share a common ancestor with the chimps. Between the DNA evidence and fossil comparisons, it is clear that we have more in common, structurally and genetically, than what could ever meet the eye. We also know what is responsible for splitting us into separate species, informing our similarities and differences. Biogeography split one species into two, and over time, evolution has caused these species to evolve very separately. This is demonstrated by humans' bipedalism and chimpanzees' lack of. This enabled humans' dominance because this made things like weaponry possible. Evolution is the only logical conclusion that explains how humans became the way that they are today.